Hello and welcome to another episode of Pushing Boundaries, a podcast where we talk about career, growth, and development by talking to some of the most inspiring people. I'm Shuchi Mathur, and my guest today is a powerhouse whose creativity and vision knows no bounds. As the mastermind behind several cinematic video series like Connecting the Dots, The Hidden Champions, and The Trailblazers, he's built not just a platform, but a movement where visionaries bring together great partnership ideas and new avenues of business. He's known for his bold storytelling and has recently raised the bar by creating stunning videos of his CES wrap. I am such a big fan of doing partnerships the way he does partnership. He took his customers on an unforgettable trip to the Valley of Fire, riding in style and blending breathtaking views with meaningful conversations. I mean, what an incredible way to spark conversations. With the precision of a storyteller, he uses his extraordinary skills to create stunning narratives that captivate and inspire one and all. And then he bakes these into great networking events at IBC, Connected TV, and NAB, where thousands of attendees join. I have been so inspired by the work he's doing, and I am so honored to have him as my guest today. Welcome to the podcast, Andy.
Oh, hi, Shuchi. Very nice to be here. And my God, I'm flattered. What an intro.
I'm glad you like it, but it's all heartfelt, Andy. The way you build relationships, it's just incredible. Meeting you for the first time didn't feel like a first time. You have so much warmth in you, and you bring out the best in people. Hopefully, you'll bring out the best in me today.
Yes, of course. Let's get it on.
Great. So, Andy, I know your personal story, and I'm super inspired by it. But I wanted to hear a little bit about your career journey. How did you start, and what has been some of the most pivotal points in your career? So, take us through.
So you did a fantastic intro of what do I do now. I connect the dots and connect people. So it's about topics and people. I am convinced that especially in B2B, in telco media, mostly in Europe, it is about relationships. People buy from people. To really be successful, especially as a solopreneur, it's crucial. Relationships will get you further than anything else. So 24 years in the industry, based in Munich, Germany, a bit gray hair. Today they're short, a haircut extra for you this morning. Huh?
Fantastic.
So yeah, I've been at Germany. I was running procurement for CPE, so set-top boxes, defining strategy. Back then, it was not yet even called Sky. It was Premiere. It was later bought by BSkyB. Then I was running partnerships at Nagra for a decade, working with a lot of vendors and tier one operator customers around the globe. Going there with our sales, they wanted to sell. I helped solve problems and connect dots.
Yeah.
And then I was selling hardcore biz dev at Samsung, working with the likes of Vodafone, Liberty Global to try to sell them gateways and set-top boxes.
Very cool.
Very thankful to Samsung that they shut down that division. Thank you, Samsung. That gave me the chance to go my own way, and it's now more than 7 years.
Yeah.
That I'm running my own company, and I love it.
Fantastic. And along with your relationship and your warmth, I love the positivity you exude, because it's people like you that inspire me to always find opportunities. And one closed door is definitely a way to open many others and hopefully bigger opportunities. So thanks for telling us about how your career started. I want to dive in a little bit. I want to know a personal story, maybe from your childhood or early days, that really shaped you and became a pivotal point in your life.
So there's a few. Let's start with really early on. So funnily, he is now the neighbor of my mother. I'm talking about Gunther. Gunther and I went to primary school. So we met when we were 6-year-old. We played in the sandpit. And there was always a bit of competition. So he's now the dean of Munich University. We were in the chess club together. And then, of course, we studied. He studied physics. He started a year earlier than I. I had to go to military service. I always liked math and physics, so I studied physics. At one point, Gunther decided that's not enough for me. I do business in parallel. I said, okay, if Gunther can do it,
I can do it.
I can do it. And I did.
Yeah.
So I finished both. I have 2 degrees,
Yeah.
diploma in physics, one in business. Actually, we never talked about this with Gunther. So, Gunther, now you see the full story. So then I decided I don't want to end up in a lab at Siemens. I like to work with people. And that's why after 1 year of hardcore semiconductor physics in a lab, where you are forced to connect the dots, means you try to find out, research something. Okay, how does that relate to that? And is there a connection? How can I validate my assumptions?
Yeah.
This is something I need in business every day.
Very cool.
Relate things together. I've
Mm.
always been at the interface between technology and business, whether
And
it was in
business.
partnerships or in selling, because
Yeah.
it's often that the techies,
Yeah.
they have fantastic ideas. They just don't know how to translate it into a sellable concept. I'm talking about extremes, of course, right? And there are the sales guys who have fantastic ideas and see the need. They can't translate it into a technical concept.
Yeah.
So they're bringing the two together, often being a translator, sometimes a shrink,
Yeah.
is something I always enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's phenomenal. And by the way, hello, Gunther. You're a guest on our
Maybe he wants
podcast
to be a-
virtually. So hopefully I get to see him one day. Great to hear his story. I recall a personal incident myself because when I started my career, I was a software engineer, wrote code for the Motorola Razr phone, which is the rage back then. But I used to drag my feet writing that code because you're sitting in front of the computer. It's very boring because it's not talking back to you. And then one fine day, my boss said, hey, the customer is in the room and they want to meet the team. Why don't you go and present this new feature? And I was like, what, really? Me? Sure. And I prepped for it. And I think I blew it out of the park. Everyone was very impressed. But that's when my boss was like, wow, you were a different person in that room. Like, what happens to you when I'm talking to you about the code? And he's like, you clearly don't enjoy writing the code as much as you do talking about features and really connecting the business to tech. And I realized that, yeah, that is where my heart lies. And so I made that pivot back in 2000s. I can completely resonate with what you're saying. Techies like talking about the complexity of their code and how difficult it was to achieve it and all of that. And salespeople like to sell, but it's not very often that you see somebody who's like, oh, I can break that down. At the end of the day, that technology is just doing this simple thing. That's the simple thing you need. Here's your product. And there you go. You've got dollars at the end of the day.
Dear techies, if we call you techies, it means we love you, right? It's a nice term. We love you.
Yes, yes. But thank you for bringing that story. It sparked that memory in my brain. And I'd love to dive more. So you said you did physics and you did business, which are two very opposite, different fields. And for anybody, it's extremely challenging to focus on one, but you did both of those. So, so tell us more about how things shaped up when you were doing that.
Yeah, I think it's also curiosity that is sometimes killing the cat, but in this case, so far it worked. By the way, it reminded me in your intro, they said, yeah, you reached out and you felt like it's not the first time we talked. You were curious because you found me on LinkedIn and you reached out. Let's talk to this Andy guy. And here we are on your podcast.
Yeah.
When we met at IBC last year, you were in the middle of deciding, do I stay at the big corporate? Do I do my own journey? Do I take a break? I want to do a podcast. And then, a half an hour discussion became a 2-hour discussion.
Yeah.
I think that curiosity, the interest in people, trying to help people to move on or optimize things, that's what's driving me all the time. So I've been doing a lot of tutoring in my youth. My parents always said, you need to become a teacher. Okay, no, I'm a consultant, so it's sort of a teacher. Also, I said it's rather advise than teach.
Yeah. You're a teacher for the big corporates. You're teaching them how to do contracts, how to build connections, how to do business. So, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned contracts. Yeah, I'm another strange animal because I like to do contracts. So I've done procurement contracts, I have done partnerships contracts and software licensing, and then selling contracts. Well, always with a great lawyer by my side. Then it's fun. I also had some not so great lawyers. Then it's very, very grateful.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's about finding the value, understanding the pain, the goals, the
yeah,
need that will eventually help you to resolve things if you're
yeah,
finding a way.
right. And it's your interpersonal skills and your personality. Somebody negotiating a contract with you or alongside you would be more willing to listen and negotiate and talk, in my opinion, because you bring that to the table. Versus I've dealt with negotiations where it's hardcore and people are like, it is going to be my way or the highway because I said so. And it's those kind of conversations that make it harder for both sides to do business, because at the end of the day, somebody has a need and somebody has a product and you want to move that business forward. But
Yes.
we need somebody like you, Andy, to be in those conversations, because otherwise contract negotiations can be tough,
They
really
can
tough.
be tough. And so the funny thing is, since I've seen it from multiple sides, so having been the buyer at one of the leading pay TV operators in Germany back then, or one in 2003, had a monopoly situation. I could have been the guy you just mentioned. I said, you know what? You don't like it? Fine. The next
Yeah, somebody
one,
else will take.
you don't like it? No problem. I don't negotiate. You sign.
Yeah, yeah.
But we didn't want just a vendor who sends us something. We were looking for partnerships. And if you want partnerships that are there in good and in bad times, then you can't treat people like that.
Exactly.
And you can squeeze them, you can squeeze the last cent, but then if shit hits the fan,
They're
good
going to
luck.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then in partnership, similar role. So we were supplying the security solutions for many of the tier one telcos and pay TV operators in Europe. So anybody wanting to work with Liberty Global or Telefonica had no other choice. They had to get a license from Mr. Andy or my team.
Mm.
And so I could have said, eat it or
Yeah,
leave it.
yeah,
But I wanted good partners. And had I not done that, I
yeah.
could not do what I do today, because
Correct.
people always meet twice.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's such wisdom that not a lot of people have, to be honest.
Really? I hope.
Well, you would hope so. It's a small world at the end of the day. Your reputation will precede you. And if you're going to be a tough cookie and if you're not going to be reasonable, people will tag you, and then that will become your reputation. And so you're not going to be in this company, in this role forever.
Well, I must admit, so these first two stations being in a sort of a monopoly position made it easy. Yeah. And switching to selling,
Yeah.
you need to step up your game, find the personal relationship, which is difficult. Here's the RFQ, answer until next week. And please, don't go around me. Don't ask questions. Not allowed. You bypassing the process. Okay, that means, okay, I lost anyway. Say no, don't even answer. Work on the next one. But then it's a lot about storytelling, finding the ways that you might set the boxes as commodity. And it was commodity already 7 or 10 years ago. So how do you find the angle? It's not price. You can try, but it's a race to the bottom that many of the companies are facing these days.
Yeah.
Or you try to add value. And that's where you need to be creative. And it's about storytelling and understanding what the customer really wants. Okay, if you sell pens, yeah, that's an easy one. He or she will choose the cheapest one. But if you sell a complex system, there's always room for talks.
Yes.
Yeah. Or create a new category. Like we see these voice speakers just had great conversations at CES. Say it's a new category. It's not a sound box. It's a small, this form factor box, and it sounds wow. Once you hear it, I want it. Stuff like this. So you need to be creative. But yeah, like at Samsung, we could say, well, we have TVs, we have mobiles, we can cross promotion and stuff that nobody else could give you. We should take these guys serious. Yeah. So it's a lot about storytelling, not inventing stories, but the conversations you have, the relationships you build, also then understanding what is the value that you bring to the customer, what's the needs, goals. If it's just relationships, you will spend a lot of dinners and trips in the desert, but you will not close deals.
Correct. So I think what you're saying, and I'm simplifying it in my own words, is tying value to what you bring to the table in an engaging format, that it tells a story. So it's easier for anybody, whether it's your contract manager, a product person, engineer, anybody on the customer side, to understand value. Because everyone talks a different lingo in today's business, right? Everyone has their own lingo and they like to stick to it. But if you come to the table with a unique idea and tie your value, tie your product's value to a story, that's easy for anybody to understand. You have a sale. And then you also have a repeat sale, because then there is a relationship. And once they understand your story, they understand what your motivations are, what your company's motivations are. And people like to work with people they like. That's the other hard truth. So
Indeed.
this is the perfect segue for us to get into the topic I wanted to talk to you about, which is the power of storytelling. And you're such a stellar example of how you can build a business around storytelling and push boundaries by using your storytelling skills. So one of the things that I am hearing in the industry is that a lot of people that are looking for jobs and changing jobs, such a volatile market, they don't understand why storytelling is so important. And I know we spent the last couple minutes explaining why it is from a business perspective, but help me dial down and articulate why storytelling is important for anybody, like somebody looking for a job or somebody going in to raise money with investors, right? Storytelling is what will get you what you're aspiring to get. Am I right?
Yes, we might want to define what is storytelling. It's not making up a story
Yes.
once upon a time. I think it starts with conversation skills. What is a story? What is a hero? And I'm very lucky that in hindsight, I played improv theater for a while. Actually, 8 years. So I took a course. A friend of mine, again, being curious, said, Andy, I'm doing this course. I think you'd love it. Do you want to come? I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. With no intention to be on stage. But then it was so fun. Improvisational theater. For the ones who've never seen it, basically short form comedy. I have no clue what the scene will be about, because the audience will prompt you. Give me a dangerous location for a first date. And it says, the middle of the highway. Okay. And I need a genre. Okay. It's Western. Okay. Western, middle of the highway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the scene starts. So, and then somebody of the troupe will go on stage and start to establish something.
Yeah.
And when I go on stage and he calls me, Django, what are you doing here? Then I am Django. And I cannot say, no, I'm not Django, I'm Andy. Yes, you're Django. Otherwise, it's going nowhere. So there's this yes and.
Yeah.
So it's always, you accept, you increase, I mean, it's comedy. You increase the risk and suddenly then something funny happens and you don't plan.
Yeah.
So that teaches you storytelling, what makes an interesting story. How do you tell? How do you use emotions? How do you use pauses? All that, gestures. Looking back, I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And there's less that will throw you off. And sometimes you can challenge with a smile. And now you make a little joke and the thing is much, much easier.
Right. So basically, telling what you need to tell in an engaging way that you get an audience's attention, right? That's storytelling. You're not making things up, but you're saying that with expressions and pauses and tonality and your face and your body language that really helps the other person understand where you're coming from. And the other thing you mentioned about improv, which just connecting the dots here, getting inspired by you. Improv also throws you in situations where you have to navigate that situation and build on what your team is building on. And if you connect that to our businesses and our corporate life, isn't that our everyday? You wake up and suddenly you have a customer escalation, or, oh, the contract didn't go through because now their budgets are frozen. And so you need to be creative and navigate and build on it. Or the team didn't deliver that they promised. And so now you have to navigate that situation, right? So comparing improv to our corporate life, I feel like it prepares you for life. It prepares you for work because it helps you navigate through situations.
Absolutely. There will just be people who absolutely love it, and it sounds maybe you should do an improv course and have fun. And there will others say, I would die and would be paralyzed. There's people, and that's absolutely fine. I said, I like my 9 to 5. I know every day what's going to happen, and I enjoy it. And for me, it was okay. In the mornings, I had the Asians calling. At noon, it was the Europeans. In the afternoon, was the Americas. No, there was the same escalation here, contract there, juggle multiple things. And I enjoyed it. But there are people that will hate it. So there's no one size fits all.
Got it.
It's just when it comes to selling, and especially in complex, you need to tell stories and you need to focus on value, because the spreadsheet alone doesn't sell.
Yeah.
It does sell, not true. It does sell to innovators and early adopters. In the times we live in, it's not good enough to say, here is my product and our company history and me. That gets you only so far. And the example I always take in one of my previous companies, we were selling, and we were very proud, selling to CTOs and the tech organization. And we were okay. We were still one of the market leaders, but our competition was golfing and dinners and parties with CEO and CMO talking about Net Promoter Score, about shareholder value and churn. And who got the deals?
Of course,
Them. We had the better tech. It was proven later. We knew it, but we were not able to sell it the right way.
Yeah.
And once you really realize that, then you need to change the way you approach things. So it's not what you sell often, it's how you sell it. And that's storytelling.
And I want to mention that are you not saying that you could sell less than optimal product by amazing storytelling? But if you have a phenomenal product, you have to also dial into storytelling in a way that it engages the right audiences. Because I think both of us know that there are some amazing products that nobody knows about, because they did not put in the effort to really build a story around why this product. A lot of times people build products, and the people that are the right fit for that product have absolutely no clue that there is a product like that exists. So it's the power of storytelling.
Thank you for the segue. I always say I challenge, but with a smile, some of my customers. And one of the stories is at IBC, I always see these pictures after the end of the show, or you take it, see, wow, we were at Hall 5, booth D32. Thank you for visiting us. It was a great show. I said, okay, wait, you're in the video industry. You cannot do video? What's wrong? So, and I said that to a few, and some were big corporations, said, okay, what if we were to do a cinematic looking video where we tell why does the industry need to have you on their radar? So we're going to skip the company history. We're going to skip, this is Mr. X, and he's the CEO, and there's Mr. Y, and he's the CMO, and here's Scott, and he's our CTO. No, we dive in. First question, why are you special?
Yeah.
And then it's not, we have our headquarters in San Jose and we have 3,000, 15, 20,000. No, is we change the way you do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Or we're going to save your CDN bill 50% because we have a fantastic new way to do it. Hey, I'm listening now. I'm awake.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Right.
And then do it in 3 minutes because the attention span is really short. So you need to capture the interest, capture the eye, and then once you have the attention, make sure you don't lose it. It's the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And like how journalists write their articles, you start with the most interesting thing first, and then the further you go, it gets less and less interesting. So I make sure that if you only watch 1 minute, you have the key message.
Correct.
So that led to the creation of the Hidden Champions, lesser known companies that amazing potential, but well, they're not well known. We're going to tell you. And that's, open for new ones. Always when I go to CES, NAB, I look for new companies and I work with some of them to help them raise their profile. Because did you see Mad Men by chance?
Yeah.
Don Draper?
Yes.
One of the key sentences he says, and I put that on my LinkedIn profile, is success comes from standing out, not
Not
from
fitting in.
blending in. And that's what I help vendors to do. In this
So,
tough world, you need to stand out. You need to raise your profile. You might have great products, but if you're not good at selling them, good luck.
yeah. Yeah. If you don't have a brand story, then how do you stand out? Why would people think you're unique for them to switch out or even try you as a new vendor? And you mentioned about hidden champions. I'd love for you to also mention about trailblazers because you and I spoke about it. So tell us a
Yes.
little bit about Trailblazer and
Oh,
those
yeah.
videos.
So Hidden Champion is a video series. I publish it on LinkedIn. So there's, I think now 6 or 7. So it's not inflationary amount. So it's really picked. There were some companies that said, I love the concept. I like the production value, but
Yeah.
I'm not hidden.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't fit. And I said, okay, so let's solve that problem and find a catchy phrase for what could be the title for a series where it's well-known companies, but they have something new
Correct.
that they're not yet known for.
Yeah.
There was, for example, Think Analytics. Everybody knows them for Reco
Yeah.
engines. They do fast and content intelligence, and nobody knows about it. Even their best customers sometimes don't. So, yeah, there will be well-known companies that have something new to tell.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and you should have on your radar. And then there are the ones that are lesser known and great. And just to round it up, there's connecting the dots. That was the idea of building an interview series with thought leaders. So it was the middle of the pandemic, and I could not go to trade shows or conferences. Nobody sees my face. So how do I stay visible? And I said, okay, now let's talk about where's the future for this industry. And it was like people like Pedro Bandera, Deutsche Telekom, or Daniel Bravo back then, Telefonica or Vodafone. So that was thought leadership. And then the other one is really helping companies to stand out.
Awesome. So now that we have established the importance of storytelling for companies and for people, I wanted to get some actionable advice from you. What are some steps that people can take to use storytelling to their advantage?
Oh, there's so many things. Where do we start? So I think let's start with the beginning. If you're at the beginning of your career, be curious. Follow people that inspire you on LinkedIn. Learn about other cultures. I had the pleasure and the privilege to spend a term at MIT in Boston and Harvard. So I got a scholar. On top of being crazy and studying too, I was lucky to get a scholarship for one term. That was great. Working with some of the brightest minds on this planet. From a theory point of view, I knew much more because I was at the end of my business studies, and these guys, girls were all coming from a background, getting an MBA to learn the business side. But then we tried this and that textbook knowledge, but it didn't work because some human element that's not in the textbook. And that was quite inspiring. So yeah, go out, work with different cultures, work internationally wherever you are. Learn another language. I mean, you get far with English or Spanish or Chinese. So yeah, talk to people. Ideally, you have a business friend or a mentor networks. Some even specifically in our industry, women, as I'm just thinking of Rise, for example, in the UK by a friend. Cindy Groom, who is fantastic and has raised that to, wow, amazing levels. So find a mentor that might help you. Talk with friends, colleagues. And I remember another anecdote. It was 30th birthday. Somebody gave me a fantastic book. It was called What Color is Your Parachute? It's a book about finding your dream job. And it teaches you in a nutshell, find out what you're good at. What's the intersection with what do you like to do? Because you might be fantastic in doing PowerPoints, but that's not what I want to do all day.
Correct.
And don't label the position, I think I want to be a product manager. Rather talk about what is it that you would like to do. Talk about that with people.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, that sounds like a partnership manager.
Yeah.
What is a partnership manager?
Yeah.
What does that mean? That will help you much. So be open, be broader, so describe your needs, your goals, your problems, and rather than finding a label for it.
Yeah. Tying back to what you're saying in terms of storytelling, along with being curious and along with learning and constantly figuring out how you can bring more color to your personality. I mean, not saying don't be boring. There's so many elements to how you can be a little bit more engaging in your conversations with people, because everyone likes to talk to somebody who's made them remember of something or reminded them of themselves or a friend, right? And then I think tying that to a value that you bring to the table. So whatever your end goal is, whether it's building new business relationships or finding a job or finding an investor in your startup, tying your unique personality in a story format to the value you bring to the table, right? People are like, oh, Andy, the guy who does amazing videos, who takes people out on fancy trips in Vegas and who's always so engaging and his videos are like a movie. I want to work with that guy, right? I mean, it's so easy without me even mentioning partner management or relationships, all the formal terms. People want to flock and do business with you because you're such an amazing storyteller.
So the other thing is show what you're doing and show it all the time. I mean, you do a podcast and you talk about it. I say, I produce cinematic videos. You see it in every call because this is not a Logitech camera. I hold out my hand, it's blurred, but not by software. It's blurred because of the camera. Yeah, and if I want, I can change the lighting here and make it look different. Okay, this is an example. So this is much better. We can even animate it. You will see change now. There we go. But yeah, that's because this is how it looks.
That's your camera. That's your studio.
That's the camera. That's the studio. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you tell me about fantastic video quality that you do and everything you do, but what I see is crap, I don't believe you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So be consistent in the story you tell. I have examples where some people said we win Emmy Awards for fantastic video quality. Wow. They sat on a crappy camera. I was looking up at them. Half of their head was disappearing because there was bad lighting in the green screen. I said,
how did that win an Emmy? Yeah.
You telling me stuff.
That's so true, and that's remarkable that you brought it up because your story has to be consistent with the image that you're presenting. And you make stunning videos, so you have all the gadgets in the studio and everything. And not everybody needs to have that level of equipment, but if your story is that you are a podcaster, let's say, take my example, but you hate being in front of the camera and you don't like talking to people and you'd rather cuddle up with a book, it's not going to go well with your podcaster image because that's not how podcasting works, right? So I'm just giving an example for the broader audience. You have to live your truth. So if your truth is whatever you are, if you're a product manager, you should love building products. You should love building something from scratch to ground up. And you should have, in your free time, plenty of examples where you can say, oh, outside of my work, I've built whatever because that's who I am. Then that's your story, right?
And do what you enjoy.
Correct.
So interestingly, several people ask me, Andy, you do so many things, right? You produce videos, you organize trips, you go to trade shows, you help companies to stand out, you do go-to-market strategy, innovation, you do coachings on video, on public speaking. What do you like the most? And I said, it's the variety.
Yeah, see?
If I were to do or negotiate contracts, if I were to do only contracts, I would be bored. Do I want to do all day video editing? God, no.
Yeah.
But it's the mix. And just find out what is it that drives you. For me, I was always doing, back then, my first GoPro, I was doing videos of the family vacation. And I was challenging myself, say, okay, 3 weeks, in 3 hours. Nobody's ever going to watch that. So I want to do 3 weeks in 30 seconds. Okay, that is a challenge with music, time to the cuts. So it's engaging to watch and said, wow, okay, now show me the 3-minute version. So I did a video announcing I'm going to IBC and let's meet. And I recorded it while going 40 kilometers per hour on my windsurf board in Sardinia in Italy. So I was up, the camera was there. I was full speed going, hey, are you going to IBC? I'm going to see you there. And I was showing it to a friend. Hi, David, who works with me as a cameraman now. So we speak often, back forwards, what concept shall we do? And I showed it to him and said, what do you think? And he said, it's a great video. Yeah, why not publish it? And I said, yeah. I'll publish it. And people loved it. And so I arrived and oh, you came with your board.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand out. And they said, Andy is ridiculous. He's on his surfboard. No, maybe there are people, but I don't care.
Truly, that's who you are. And I think it's amazing. And I'm learning that gradually too. Owning up to who you are. What? Surfing, not yet. But just owning up to who I am and not caring about because you can't please everybody. So might as well do what you enjoy and be authentic.
If you have an intersection there with what you do for a living, even better. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. This was such an amazing conversation. And I am so stoked with everything you told and inspired at such different levels. And hopefully everybody that listens to this will also get inspired and have a few ideas. Thank you for taking time. It was incredible having you.
Thank you for having me, Shuchi. A real pleasure. And we will continue our discussion. And
Absolutely.
I'll see where it takes you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Shuchi.